Goodbye, the show where we tell you about a thing and whether or not you should actually buy that thing. Today, that thing is Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is actually playable on Xbox Game Pass and Game Pass for PC, or whatever it's called now, Game Pass Core or something, I don't know. So what is Dungeons of Hinterberg? It's a good question, as it's a game that slipped past my radar entirely until I saw it pop up on the recently added tab on Game Pass the day it launched. Needless to say, I was immediately drawn in. Adventure Time, Sable, Persona, Zelda, Super Mario Galaxy, SSX Tricky. These are all just a few things that this game reminds me of, whether it be the art style, charm, formula, gameplay loop, level design, or straight up magical snowboarding. And oh, how I love every second of it. 1 second you'll be managing your social life, another you'll be exploring some 3D puzzle environments, and the next you'll be deep into an isometric Diablo-like dungeon as the game shifts into a top-down perspective to mix things up. Don't worry, this game has it all, and there'll always be something to pull you in. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a game about Louisa, who travels to the renowned tourist town of Hinterberg. This small town became a big stop for adventurers some years ago after the mysterious appearance of magic, monsters, and 25 dungeons scattered throughout the region. Here as another visiting slayer, you'll get to know the town folks, upgrade your gear, and set out into the 4 different regions to find and conquer each of these dungeons, earning yourself another stamp in your little dungeon stamp book. There's plenty of exploration, puzzles, and monsters to fight, all while learning how to cast different spells to help you both in and out of combat. There's no rush though. The days in Dungeons of Hinterberg work very much in the same way as games like Persona, if you're familiar with that. Different activities will progress the day, such as traveling to a region and completing a dungeon. Generally, the daytime is going to be when you travel and explore, while the evenings will be spent shopping, hanging out with friends to boost relationships, or doing something yourself like going to the cinema. Each activity benefits various social and self-focused stats, and friendships will unlock more perks and services to help you out in the long run. Mornings are to decide where you're going to go on that day, and nights are for reading, watching TV, or, if you want to be responsible, sleeping. Note that sleeping is actually the better option, as other night activities will leave you tired the next day, meaning you have 25% less health. So, only put off sleeping if you're planning a calmer day the next day with no dungeon delving. Or if you're just being super immersive with the game and want to match feeling tired every day in real life. Lord knows I'm always operating on 75%. There are also various events and story beats to keep you entertained and the progression rolling, but the overall contrast between town life and dungeon delving is honestly such a charming and fun mix, and makes for a great, refreshing example of that aforementioned Persona life sim-like gameplay loop. My first hour with Dungeons of Hinterberg was quite interesting. I went in knowing almost nothing about it, and was pleasantly surprised at the concept. The mix of magic and monsters into a beautiful, realistic small town was a mashup I never knew I needed, and the art style and characters only elevated that charm by the second. It seemed simple enough, and though I picked normal difficulty, I was having a breeze slashing my way through enemies and the introductory dungeon. A nice and easy game to hack and slash through as I explore, make friends, and uncover even more dungeons. Also, I thought, as I set out and really got stuck into the exploration, I came across an area with these signs warning about monsters in the next area. There are quite a few of these spread throughout the maps, and each is usually an encounter that will reward you with a chest or a secret. This was the first I had found though, and the first time the game really put me in my place as a novice monster slayer. I tried over and over and over again, sometimes getting further, sometimes not far at all. It was a battle of me dealing minimal damage, while even the runts of this group could take me out in 1 or 2 hits. Not to mention the magic flying all over the place, the additional backup monsters that come in. It was a true challenge. Yes, I could walk away and come back at a later date with better gear and stuff, but I didn't want to. I'm too stubborn for that. Try and try again I did. It was a long attempt to keep making progress, and never did the challenge let up. Eventually, I did it. I cleared the monsters and backup monsters methodically. I defeated the bigger monster that was causing so much pain, the stupid goat thing. I finally had conquered these phases to overcome the crowd of enemies. Well, I barely had a moment to celebrate too soon, as then came these lads. Are you serious? 2 completely different big boys with big boy clubs. Yep, time to start all over again. Now, after another 20 minutes, I did clear them. But this was the point that Dungeons of Hinterberg's grasp on me tightened, and I was fully into it. As I went on, more challenge awaited, more abilities and spells, more gear to unlock with different buffs, and plenty more dungeons with their own flair and challenges. My first hour was a slow and charming introduction that led me into something unique and gripping, before it beat me to the ground and dared me to overcome it, leading me to a sense of accomplishment, commitment, and opening the doors to just the surface of what was waiting for me in the rest of this experience. Speaking of the rest of the experience, just how long is Dungeons of Hinterberg? According to the current data on howlongtobeat.com, Dungeons of Hinterberg's story is an average of 12 hours long, pushing to 16 hours if you want to take some time to do some extras. Completionists, however, can apparently expect to play around 27 hours of the game, which, from where I'm at, sounds about right. I'm quite a leisurely player, so I do expect to hit around 30 hours with this game. At the time of writing, I'm about 12 hours in, and I've done 12 of the 25 dungeons. I expect some of the later dungeons will likely become tougher, but currently I'm tackling a dungeon per in-game day. With the relationships and town activities, though somewhat limited in options and stat boosts, I think this is a game worth taking your time with, for as much time as you need. Don't rush, don't worry if there are days when you don't do too much. I mean, the maps even have meditative areas when you can just let the day pass serenely, which gives you a boost to your health. It's all about the journey, and you don't have to become a dungeon conqueror overnight. So how much is this game? Well, first off, as I mentioned earlier, this game is actually playable on Game Pass, on both Xbox and PC. This is how I've been playing, switching between the two. But if you don't have Game Pass, then Dungeons of Hinterberg will cost you $24.99. The game is currently available on Xbox Series X and S and PC, with no current plans to bring it to PS5 or Nintendo Switch. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a game that brings the best of so many well-known genres and formulas in often surprising and increasingly charming ways. It's ceaselessly enjoyable and can both offer a challenge for you to overcome as much as a relaxing game to play while you shut off for the day, adventuring and living out your best life. A gorgeous art style and charming characters welcome you into this beautiful, mountainous region almost immediately, and the entertaining gameplay loop secures your attention and ensures you'll have a fantastic time with the entire experience. Whether it be the story, the world, the characters, the social life, the adventure, the dungeons, or these strange dancers, there is plenty to love about Dungeons of Hinterberg. It's a game I was quick to jump into without knowing too much about it, and I'm so glad I did. It doesn't do anything to reinvent any formulas, but it does utilize the best of so many to create a sincerely enjoyable experience. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a good buy.